So we are going to start with a security briefing first, and then we'll go into a video session whereby it gives us an idea of what the UNESCO IGGP is all about, and then why we are here, and then probably just one outlook from the local community on what the Zuma Rock is to them, and then before we kickstart that. Thank you. The representative of the MD of Zuma Rock Resort, Samir. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Our esteemed guest, Honorable Permanent Secretary, valued attendees, and professors. It's my pleasure to hosting you here in Royal Institute, Zuma Rock Resort, to make this this important event, enrich for all of us. We are ready to collaborate with you to make it to focus on the insights and the perspectives on in this momentous events. Thank you so much for choosing Zuma Rock Resort for this International Diversity Day, and please feel free at your homes. And we are just to make this event is very, very successful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Samir. And next, I want to please call on Dr. Aminu Abdullahi Isyaku, who is the chairman of UNESCO IGGP.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I think it's still morning. All right. Let me start by observing the due protocols. His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Niger State, Farmer Mohammed Umar Bago, ably represented here by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Lands, Dr. Abdul, the GM of Niger State Tourism Board, Hajia Zainab Mohammed, my able members of the UNESCO International Geoscience and Geoparks Program Committee, National Committee members, the Director General of the NGSA, Professor Olusegun. We understand that he's on his way to this place. Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is an honor for me to welcome you to this celebration of Nigeria's first International Geodiversity Day. This day is set aside by UNESCO to recognize and appreciate the other half of nature that surrounds us. Normally, we are used to understanding nature to be mainly dominated by biodiversity. So UNESCO was approached by professionals working in the geoscience sector across the world to bring and create awareness of the importance of the other half of basically whatever it is that we see in the world. So anything you see in the world are basically classified into two. It's either that thing is a living organism or that thing you see is non-living. So biodiversity represents anything that has life, animals, plants, while geodiversity essentially represents the other half, consisting of the rocks, the soils, the mountains, the rivers, landscapes, in fact, including climate, that shapes our environment and sustain biodiversity here on Earth. We often speak about biodiversity, the living part of nature. But today, we want to focus on geodiversity. That's the foundation upon which biodiversity itself stands. Without rocks, there will not be soil. Without soil, there will not be plants. Without plants, no animals or humans can survive on Earth. So geodiversity is quite simply the silent strength of nature. It is therefore fitting that we gather here at the Zuma Rock, one of Nigeria's most iconic natural landmarks, to celebrate this occasion. Zuma Rock is not only a cultural and spiritual symbol, like we've seen from this brief interview of the representative of the local community, but it is a geoheritage treasure, a magnificent example of Nigeria's ancient geology and natural history. Through the partnership between Zuma Rock Resort, the Niger State government, and our committee, we are taking the first step towards elevating this heritage into international recognition for the first time in Nigeria. Your Excellency, I am pleased to inform you that since our inauguration, Niger State government has been our first port of call in implementing Nigeria's National Geoheritage and Geoparks program. So our next step, in collaboration with your government, is to commence a statewide geoheritage mapping and assessment, starting from the Zuma Rock area and other sites across Niger State. And again, this for us as a committee, the mandate that we have is to cover the entire country. This will form the scientific and community foundation for a UNESCO Global Geopark application, which, when approved, will make Niger State a pioneer in West Africa's geopark network. And the benefits are quite enormous. A UNESCO Global Geopark status attracts international funding to solve other aspects of the IGGP themes that include geohazards, climate change, hydrogeological issues, earth resource management, and geodynamics, and of course geoheritage. Also, a UNESCO Global Geopark status promotes geotourism, which presently the Zuma Rock Resort is only operating this resort as a recreational and tourism site. So basically they are promoting the scenes of the area, but not the science. So our job is to unlock the geoscience aspects of these resorts for geotourism purpose. And that is going to create more local jobs and enhance environmental education while preserving our natural heritage for future generations. It also places Niger State on the world map as a destination for science, culture, and sustainable development. In fact, the program that we are holding here today, if probably the MC is going to launch the www.geodiversityday.org, you will see that apart from the geopark, UNESCO designated geopark in Morocco, there is no other place where this day is being marked in Africa except here in Niger State, Zuma Rock. And that has done a lot in beginning to promote the state in that aspect. I must also acknowledge the directives of His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, following our recent visit to the State House, where he encouraged subnational governments under the National Economic Council, which the Vice President chairs, to drive geoheritage programs and projects within their territories. And of course, the federal government has pledged its total support under our National Committee for such subnational initiatives. UNESCO funding and support is also guaranteed by the time we fully kickstart and develop our national geoheritage inventories. So we are happy that today we are here to commence the initial moves towards that realization. Your Excellency, sir, Niger State is already leading by example, and with your continued support, we can transform this rock, this landscape, and this moment into a legacy of pride and prosperity, not only for Niger State, but for Nigeria and the entire UNESCO family globally. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We move on to the next, which is the goodwill message and opening remarks by the representative of His Excellency Farmer Muhammad Umar Bago. So, Dr. Abdul Husaini.
Good protocol, man. Thank you very much. Actually, let me start with a caveat. Yes, I'm here based on instruction and directive. But I don't think I'm here as the representative of the governor in that capacity. But on a very serious note, I'm here for 2 or 3 reasons. One, and I've been directed to be here, and I'm here, which is very important. Then 2, is something very close to my heart because this is my area as a geographer. 3, what we are doing today is something worthy of commendation, and I must acknowledge the resilience of Prof for being very consistent on this for quite a while. You have mentioned so much in your presentation and in the video that I watched, but I want to just highlight 1 or 2 things just before I maybe summarize my presentation. There are things that happened before now, which I think is important to take note of and document. What happened initially some years back, before that event, was the myth. I have been in Suleja here as a zonal town planning officer for 6 years. And during that time, that was when I gave the approval for this as a town planning officer. And I saw the zeal, the commitment of this man, Dr. Moayed. Because that time, nobody wants to stay around this area. It's a dead end. Believe me, nobody. Because in fact, if you pass through this corridor, you are just a goner. But he had that commitment that he wanted to develop something because of that rock. And he started like joke, and we're here today. But before then, there were some people that did something which I think is important for us to go back and pick note. Some white men, I don't know from where, these climbers, that myth that this rock in those days used to have like a kind of gate that people, enter and then you disappear and so on and so forth. And another myth, which is very important, and this is something that, well noted by all the people that are living around here, that this rock that you are seeing, the Zuma is the husband, while the remaining ones at the back, they are the wives. So these small rocks. So, and one of the arguments that we took about 5 years ago when they started doing quarry, and they will tell you that, no, we're not touching the Zuma Rock. I said, but you're touching his wife at the back. So, and you don't know, of course, you've been a geologist, I'm a geographer, so this is something that we know. There must be connection on the ground. It's not just like that. So when you say you are mining one at the back, or the one at the back, which was flat, and you think, I'm not touching this rock, could you believe that crack that happened? It was a result of that action. So now you are destroying one or two of his wives, and you think you'll be happy. So every year they used to do sacrifice for everything to be fine. So one time during the government of he now had this very big dream that he wanted to see what is on top of that Zuma Rock. And then there was a kind of carnival that one evening I was in Suleja when we blocked the whole of this road. And then they used a helicopter to land people on top. And I think we conquered Zuma Rock, nobody died. So at least from there we see, yes, something happened. But before then, some white people climbed and put the flag of Niger State, Nigeria there, which is very important. We need to know what they did, and what they have done. That is the beginning. And then the next stage was what? When this government, the last government of did thought of that. In fact, a very wide dream to have the whole of this area being protected. Then the third most important was Zuma Resort when he initiated his program. And then there was also the last government that declared Zuma Cultural Investment City around this area, including from this place up to about, I think 300, 400, 500, I think about 1,000 or so hectares, so that this area should be protected. And the last but not the least, which is the most important, is the effort of my principal. When he came, part of what he did was to engage a team very dedicated to work with Muayyad to come out with what we call the Greater Suleja Development Plan. And this team came out with something that we call SADC, SADWEC. And the meaning of that is Sabon Wuse Dede Exclusive Economic Corridor. The idea is this area must be seen to be alive, must be very active, must be vibrant, so that we have all that we are looking at. And that was really what we are working on. And what you are doing now is in tandem with that. So I think these are just the context that I want us to take as something to go back with. But for the purpose of this day, I think I must say one or two things. To say today is not only about your day, even though I'm also part of it by virtue of my training. But today is also World Habitat Day. First Monday of October is always first and today is the first Monday. So we're celebrating 2 international observers here. And we must acknowledge the visionary leadership of the governor, whose new Niger agenda is nothing more than what? Changing the narrative and bring about development, sustainability, and emancipation of what? Our people to be economically independent. So these 2 days are very important, 2 significant. One, UNESCO created the International Geodiversity Day to highlight the value of the Earth Foundation, its rock, soil, and landform for sustained life. Geodiversity underpins our water system, cities, climate, and ecosystem. It calls us to protect our geological heritage, just like you mentioned, build the art literacy among our youth to understand whatever is happening, there are basis, foundation, and then consequences for doing something or not doing it. And also promote responsible stewardship. While the World Habitat Day 2025 theme, which is all about resilience, is talk about resilient urban economies, cities as drivers of growth and recovery. This is also important, what we are doing here. If you know your history, you can plan more for that. So this aligns with Niger's self-transformation effort through the Greater Suleja Development Plan that I mentioned. Mina urban regeneration, which is what the government is doing. And also we have the commitment of the government for what we call the upgrade of Niger, which is Niger State Geographic Information System, to talk about mapping and so on and so forth. This initiative affirmed that geodiversity and habitability must be planned together, balancing nature with human aspiration. This is very important. I found my presence here very important because part of what UNESCO is doing, I happen to be, by chance, let me say, involved in one or two things. In 2014, we were at Nagoya when this end of the decade of education for sustainable development, DESD, took place. And then there was the launch of the Global Action Program on ESD. So one of UNESCO's most profound contribution through the decade of education for sustainable development, 2005-2014, was the recognition that achieving sustainability requires all forms of knowledge. This is very important. Formal, informal, and non-formal, or what we call indigenous. UNESCO emphasized the importance of local and indigenous knowledge in shaping development that reflect the people it serves. As we discuss Zuma Rock, we must appreciate that it represents more than a geological monument. It embodies the totality of our people, their history, identity, spiritual continuity, and that is why we have the GM, Tourism Corporation, spirituality, environmentality, and so on and so forth. Only then can we truly appreciate the name Zuma and its significance, not only as a geological marvel, but as a living heritage connecting place, culture, and prosperity. This is very important. How much have we known about this? And I'm happy you discussed with this guy from Chachi. But I think we need to do more, because one of the key gaps that we're having is we look at things from technical to technical. And we have too much grammar, and then we lose the value. This local knowledge that we're taking for granted within is outdated. It's what is keeping some communities and societies alive. Go to China. They don't put away their local knowledge, and that's why we have this acupuncture and everything. But here, how many of us, for goodness sake, there are things that are efficacious, they can work locally, or we are taking them for granted. So I think let's use this platform to document what we know about Zuma Rock. The myth, the fact, and the mystery, so that at least we will have something to tell our story. It's not just about the technical geoscience, no. The historical content, which is part of what you are doing, is very important. So we need to go back. Some of these people have been, they are going, and we're living so much. I'm using this platform to appeal. This is something that I have been part of, because being the coordinator of Regional Center of Expertise on Education for Sustainable Development, which is also a UNESCO-supported program, MENA has been part and parcel of that activity. And we have, that's why I'm very happy what you are saying. Being pioneer. When RCE movement started in 2009 and 10, we had two in Nigeria, Lagos and Kano. And then in 2011, MENA was added. Because we were added, we were able to brought on board additional about 8 or 9 now that are RC. We have in Zaria, courtesy of the current VC, who happens to be somebody close to me, Professor Adamami. So we have actually Zaria, we have Kano, and then I think others. So what am I saying here? UNESCO, they have been in this kind of thing where we look at the local environment. The idea of RCE is what? Regional Center of Expertise on Education for Sustainable Development, where development, it has all been confirmed, cannot be all about formal, but we look at informal and non-formal. So local initiative within the state, what have we done? Through RCE MENA, we translated global sustainability framework into local action for recent regenerating urban spaces like Bago Cemetery. These are small things that you are taking for granted, just like what you are doing. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be too technical. It doesn't have to be expensive. Believe me, the simpler it is and effective, the more. These white people that we are working with, they respect ideas that are simple. It's not about money. You may not have any couple, but your idea can take you places. So this is what I think. So what we did was, we have been teaching students as a planner. Go to most of these our university. What will you see? You will see so many research work on cemetery planning. But how many have they implemented? Because look at it as just pass. But the GM will tell you, and I think my director of planning is here. We look at the governor approved the expansion of the cemetery by 3 hectares. We say, okay, if we believe in this thing, let's put it into practice. We design a layout for these graves, and we are able to have 3,000 something graves, and we now put walkways, and now is the talk of the town. In fact, somebody was telling the governor that he was in Abuja, even though jokingly, that he had some people discussing over coffee that he want to go and die in Mina. They say, why? Because in Mina, they designed the place where even you have a layout, you can pick. I want plot 1 or plot 2 or plot 3. There are walkways, there are lights. This is simple. How much is idea? We don't wait for somebody. So these are the kind of things that I think we need to take into consideration in moving forward. And I'm happy the Vice President has given it. What he's saying, subnational to take action, it's not about the government, even a subnational, sub-community, or whatever household. What ideas do we know? Part of what this job actually do is what are the things that have been on the ground around this community that has not disappeared. When this rock, when I was here 15, 20 years ago, believe me, the beauty of Zuma Rock is behind, not in the front. So we have this era, planet and so on and so forth. So my concluding remark here is, as we commemorate this day, these twin observance, the World Habitat Day and the Geodiversity Day, let us remember that every rock, river, and settlement tells a story of the earth that sustained us and the homes we built upon. Together with UNESCO and UN Habitat, Niger State stand committed to inclusive, climate resilient, and knowledge-driven development. Let me close my remark with this. From our land to our people, from our soil to our cities, we reaffirm that sustainability begins where knowledge meets the ground. Thank you very much.
So up next, we have videos session from UNESCO International Geoscience and Geoparks program and Geodiversity videos. So please, in 2 minutes, that will be up. Thank you.
In 1872, UNESCO has been making a contribution to peace building and sustainable development in its member states thanks to its unique remit in earth sciences. UNESCO is the UN's education, science and culture organisation. The earth sciences provide us with invaluable knowledge about the planet, its systems and its 4.6 billion year history. This knowledge is essential for responding to present-day challenges of human society. UNESCO is the only United Nations organisation with a mandate to support research and capacity in earth sciences. And the International Geoscience and Geoparks programme supports all 193 UNESCO member states to support peace building, helping them to have sustainable societies, tackling present-day challenges by improving their capacities in earth sciences. At its inception, it was decreed that it should cement peace between countries, protect human rights, and improve living standards. We promote a vision of a world at peace, and this world cannot be without education, culture, and science. We concentrate on 10 major issues that help support our mandate. In no particular order, these are education. We develop and operate activities for all ages to spread awareness of our geological heritage and its links to other aspects of our natural, cultural, and intangible heritages. Natural resources. We promote the sustainable use of our natural resources, whether they're mined, quarried, or harnessed from the surrounding environment, whilst at the same time promoting respect for the environment and the integrity of the landscape. Sustainable development. We plan for the sustainable development of the people who live and the life that evolves on our precious earth. Culture. We explore and celebrate the links between people in our communities, their practices, and the unfolding complex nature of an ever-evolving earth. Women. UNESCO has a strong emphasis on empowering women, whether through scientific research or education programs, or through the development of women's cooperatives. Local and indigenous knowledge. UNESCO actively involves local and indigenous peoples, preserving and celebrating their culture and helping them to continue the life practices in the modern world. Climate change. We hold records of past climate change and educate on current climate change, as well as adopting a best practice approach to utilising renewable energy and employing the best in tourism. Geological hazards. We have geological hazards, including volcanoes and tsunamis. We help local communities to prepare disaster mitigation strategies. Geoconservation. UNESCO promotes the concept of sustainability. We value the heritage of Mother Earth and recognise the need to protect it. Science. We work with academic institutions to engage and promote research in the earth sciences, to advance our knowledge of the planet, its fabric and its processes, and the unique interactions between these two. National commissions. UNESCO is the only UN agency to have a global network of national cooperative bodies known as National Commissions from UNESCO. Presently, there are 199 national commissions from UNESCO across the world. This network plays a significant role in the liaison with partners, the coordination of activities, and the promotion of UNESCO's visibility and contributions to the earth sciences at country level. International Geoscience Programme and UNESCO Geoparks. The International Geoscience Programme is a knowledge hub of UNESCO to facilitate international scientific cooperation in the geosciences. And the UNESCO Geoparks is a community of internationally important geological sites and landscapes that combine conservation with sustainable development. UNESCO is the only United Nations organisation with a mandate to support research for capacity in earth sciences. And the International Geoscience and Geoparks Programme supports UNESCO member states for their contributions to the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, the Paris 2015 Climate Agreement, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Please contact us to be part of our worldwide network of scientists.
Thank you for coming, and we appreciate the fact that we are celebrating geodiversity today in Nigeria, and we know and we hope that it will be a continuous one. Thank you, and God bless us. So, now to my presentation on geodiversity, awareness, and sustainable development in Nigeria. This is my outline. So, as an introduction, we know the able chairman has already defined geodiversity, but for the presentation, geodiversity encompasses the variety of Earth's geological features: rocks, minerals, fossils, landforms, soils, and water systems. That is all that, because when we say diversity, it means there are different geological features present, and of which Nigeria, we are really blessed with a lot of diverse different types of rocks. And so currently, there are about 229 UNESCO designated geoparks across the globe, across the world. And in Africa, we just have two. One in Morocco and the other one in Tanzania, and none in West Africa. And that is why we are also very passionate about it today, that we should create this awareness for Nigerians, that we have all it takes to have UNESCO designated geoparks. So not just one, many, but we have to, they say a journey of 1,000 kilometers begins with one. So we are taking this step, and it is in the right direction. And so to align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, geodiversity awareness is recognized as a vital component or sustainable national development, celebrated globally. This Geodiversity Day is celebrated globally every 6th of October. And today is 6th of October, and we are celebrating. So we give kudos to the committee for celebrating exactly on that same day. And the theme for this year is One Earth, Many Histories. So they are Nigerian. Let me continue. So the importance now of what we are doing, talking about the geodiversity, is conserving geodiversity support the preservation of ecosystems. So when we are talking about geodiversity, we are not just talking about the rocks, the soils, but about the holistic aspect. That's talking about the ecosystem, protecting the environment by conserving unique landscapes and ecosystem, just like what we are talking about, the Zuma Rock. It's a landscape we want to preserve, we want to protect. And secondly, sustainable extraction of natural resources will facilitate economic development. So it's not just about conserving or protecting, it will encourage economic development of the community, as the chairman said, that is a bottom-up approach from the community up to the larger community. So it promotes cultural and educational value that foster community pride. So like our PAMSEC, to allay his fear about the culture, about the history of the people, we capture, it's all encapsulated in, when we're talking about Geopark, is everything encapsulated, not just the aesthetic beauty of the rocks or the landform, but also talking about the culture, talking about the history. In fact, when we were even coming, my chairman was trying to say, that is the wives, the wives of the Zuma Rock. He showed us. And very important, because like we were privileged, both of us were privileged to travel to South Africa sometime this year. And they had a workshop. And that workshop, they took us through, because in that workshop, they were proposing, for them, they have gone ahead, that's South Africa, they have gone ahead to propose a geopark. And so they have brought in the UNESCO body to kind of examine and supervise what they have, where the site they have chosen. And they have gone a step ahead. But we are getting there. And in one of the excursions, they showed us one of the rocks, even as we're having a boat cruise. They showed us the rock, and the three wives, you remember, they called them the three roundabouts. And, they preserve it. There's no mining activity around that place. So that is what we are talking about. Those stories that we have around our rocks, our maybe geological sites that of international values, we have to preserve, we have to protect, and even including the ecosystem, the biodiversity around them, we have to protect. So it helps communicate to understand disasters, process, and adapt to management of risk reduction. When we preserve, when we protect, what happens? We will avert disasters, especially natural disasters that are avoidable. Because by the time, like look at this Umar, look at the environment. He has kind of protected some of the animals, the plants, the fauna that are here. So those are, and as you are doing that, what are you doing? Things like erosion, gully erosion will be prevented. And there are a lot of other aspects of the climate change that will be averted or will be incorporated. So that is what we are talking about. So geodiversity supports climate change mitigation and adaptation process. It also gained global recognition through alignment with UNESCO Global Geopark initiatives. So we are also talking about global recognition, because when they say this park or this geopark is recognized by UNESCO, it means by the time we go into maybe tourists are looking for their next destination, Niger State, Zuma Rock, for example, I'm just giving an instance, will be there. And it can be a source of encouragement for them to come to Niger State, to come to Nigeria for tourism, because of what the UNESCO have done, because of the UNESCO stamping their approval in the place. So our objective is to promote awareness of Nigeria's rich geodiversity and demonstrate how its conservation and sustainable use can support environmental protection, cultural preservation, community empowerment, and economic development, while aligning with global frameworks such as UNESCO Global Geopark. So that's what we are doing here, to align with the global happenings all over the world. So that it will encourage community development. It will also protect the environment. It will also preserve culture, and in the end, bring about economic development. For us in NGSA, we have developed to promote geopark, our initiatives of Nigerian Geological Survey Agency. We have gone into inventory of the different geoheritage sites in Nigeria, not just maybe in Abuja, all over Nigeria, because that's our mandate. Nigeria is our mandate. So first of all, like I said during the Goodwill message, we started with the southwestern part of Nigeria. And so for what we have here is the geological sites map, using the geological map of Nigeria. So you could see in the southwest that we have different geological sites already here. And some of them are the Warm Spring in Ikogosi in Ekiti State. Then we have the grooves in Ondo State and Osun State. And in them, we could see some, though even some of them we have not visited, but as a matter of projection, we know some of them that are in some of the geological sites that are in existence. But definitely, our work has taken us to southwestern Nigeria and parts of north central Nigeria. It's work in progress, and we are taking it stage by stage. So the overview of geopark initiatives in Nigerian Geological Survey Agency. So the Nigerian Geological Survey geology is both diverse and rich, shaped by a complex history of tectonic events, sedimentation, magmatism, and weathering processing over billions of years. The initiative to geologically understand the location of various geoparks in Nigeria will help to promote and sustain areas identified as potential geopark characteristics in the north-central Nigeria and southwestern part of the country. So from the southwestern part of the country, we have the basement complex rocks, the migmatite, and let me not bore you, schistose rocks, granitoids, and the rest of them. Then the overview of geopark continues. We also have the granite. Now, this is the map of the southwestern part of Nigeria where I said we worked. And these are the key, is showing the different rock types that we have there. Then what we have here is a template. During the course of our work, we have a template that our geologists will feel as they are taking the inventory of the different geological sites that they have visited. And those marks you are seeing, they are showing different geological sites. Some of them are beaches, caves, hills, lakes, landscapes, reserves, rivers, sacred grove, and the rest of them. So these are the areas they have visited in this southwestern part of Nigeria. So now the identified locations in Oyo State. In Oyo State, we have the Agbele Rock. This is a naturally occurring geological rock formation, a coarse-grained granite. Now we talk about the geology, which resembles a woman with a basket. You look at her, look like a woman with a basket on her head. These are my colleagues that went on the field work. So then there is another Adewe suspended lake. The Ado Hill is a migmatite gneiss complex. It's home to the only suspended lake in Africa. We have a suspended lake that they were able to map. And that lake is the only suspended lake in Africa. It's on top of a hill. So that's why we call it is suspended. And a suspended lake is a body of water located atop of a mountain. There are only 2 known suspended lakes in the world, and they are the Hanging Lake in Colorado in USA, and that one in Nigeria, in Ado Aweye, Oyo State, Nigeria. Okay, so we are continuing with the identified locations in Ekiti State. We have the Abonijorin Caves and Resort. At the base of Abonijorin Hill Cave and Resort in Aroromi, some 12-kilometer drive from Ado-Ekiti to Aroromi. We have the opening of the base of porphyritic granite bodies. Then, still in Ekiti State, we have the Ikogosi. Most of us know about Ikogosi Warm Spring Water Resort. Already there, they have a resort around it, just like what we have here. They have a resort that tourists visit, but it's still at what I call the regional level. So they have a resort at that place, because you see, in that place, we see warm water, we see cold water coming almost from the same rock, coming out from the same place, and it's a sight to behold. And like some people are also promoting medical geology. So medical geology can be they can learn a lot from there. And even geothermal energy, just like Nigeria today, we know that energy is a problem. And geological survey, as we planned in 2025, we want to also do a lot of geothermal energy mapping around Ikogosi. So there are a lot of benefits we derive by doing this geoheritage inventory mapping, even as NGSA and as IGPP, see Nigeria also planning to do. Then we have Eleko Beach, private beach in the Lekki Peninsula, that's in Lagos Island, located in the Ibeji Lekki local government area. The Atlantic Ocean came to Lagos and created several beaches. You know, there are several beaches around Lagos, around the Atlantic Ocean. Then we have the Oluma Rock, the iconic Oluma Rock. Oluma Rock is located at the southern part of Abeokuta in a little town known as Ikija. Oluma Rock can be referred as an inselberg or a residual mountain, which is left standing after swimming, just like we have the Zuma Rock here. It's an inselberg standing. The Oluma Rock is believed to be an intrusive igneous rock, which was exposed to the surface, probably during weathering and other activities. So, and then we have the Oshun Sacred Grove. You see, we also talk about the myths around some of these geological sites. So like this Sacred Grove is already recognized. It's a geoheritage site recognized by UNESCO. And it was founded some 400 years ago in Oshun, Osogbo, southwestern Nigeria, largest sacred grove to have survived and still revered. The people reverence it through the forest, meanders, rivers, Oshun, the spiritual abode of the river goddess, Oshun. Within the forest, sanctuary and 40 shrines, sculptures, and artwork erected in the past 42 years. So these are all part of what formed the geopark we are talking about. And the Erin Ijesha waterfalls. So we have a lot of waterfalls around it. Then the Idanre Hill Tourist Center. The historical Idanre Hills are situated 15 kilometers southwest of Akure in Ondo State. The town is divided into an ancient, the Idanre Hill, the ancient Idanre Hill was on top of the mountain, on top of the hills. Now they have come down the hill. And so they have this history, they have the story behind it. Then we are now going to the north-central part of Nigeria. This is the geological map of the north-central part of Nigeria. The geological rocks and minerals, the keys are there. Then the areas, these are the template we filled as we worked in part. We didn't finish. We just worked on 3 states in north-central Nigeria. We worked in Niger State, Kogi, and we worked in 4 states: Niger State, Kogi, Abuja, and Kwara. And I mentioned Kogi, yes. So we covered these states, these 4 states, and this part of work in 2024. So we now have the Imolojebe, that's in Kwara State, rock, served the locals as hibernation during war in those days, and they have the history around it. It can hide at least 50 persons. Those are their culture and history around the rock. They are known for shield for maidens who may have been mistakenly anyway pregnant and out of wedlock, and they will go and hide there. Then they will be protected from maybe the ghost. So those are the history, the story, the culture they said, they told our team that went there. Then we have the Owu Falls. Owu Falls is located in Ife-Lodun, local government area of Kwara State, and it's just 30 minutes drive from Ore-Ago into the Owu Quartzite Hills. Then we have also the Party Hills in Kogi State. The Party Hills, for us geologists, we know what to call the Party Formation. And so the Party Formation is a rock that has all the members of this Party Formation. So that Party Hills contains all the members of Party Formation. And for us, there's a need to protect such kind of rocks from either being quarried or mined or whatever. So there are geological sites like that we need to preserve, we need to protect and keep for stuff. Because when you destroy, for example, when you destroy such sites, meaning that there is no other formation that will talk about complete, holistic members of that Party Formation. And we have them, we have so many formations in Nigeria, in some of them in either southeast or northwest or all over Nigeria. And such areas we should be able to protect and preserve such places for future generation, for education, for researches, which is very important to us as geoscientists. So the confluence of River Benue and River Niger is part of it. It's another geological site that we documented in Kogi State. Then part of Niger State, we have the Kainji Lake Park. It's located in New Busa, Borgu local government. So it's not just the Zuma Rock in Niger State. We have documented some other places. In New Busa, we have documented Kainji Lake Park. We have the Hua stream, unique geosite that showcases the state's natural beauty and geological significance. Then the iconic Zuma Rock. It's part of Niger State. So with the resort, it's a popular tourist destination that offers a unique blend of natural beauty, geological significance, and recreational activities. Then we have also the Kashua Karshi waterfall. The Karshi waterfall is a breathtaking natural wonder located in the picture town of Karshi near Abuja. So, sustainability of geodiversity. Talking about sustainability, we say education and awareness. Integrate geodiversity into schools. This is also to say, I think University of Abuja have started, and I believe others even want to advocate that to secondary school level, we should integrate geodiversity into school research and public campaigns to build appreciation and knowledge, conservation and geopark development, protect key geosites, and promote UNESCO Global Geoparks as centers for education, heritage, and sustainable growth. Then, policy and partnership include geodiversity in national planning and strengthen collaboration among NGSA, mines and steel, environment, and tourism sectors. 4, community and innovation. Empower local communities in geotourism and support research linking geodiversity, climate, and livelihoods. Finally, global alignment. Align with UNESCO's International Geoscience and Geopark Program, Nigerian National Committee on IGGP NNC framework to position Nigeria in global networks for shared learning and sustainability. So our benefits. Benefits include economic development, job creation through tourism and conservation efforts, educational outreach platform for learning about geology, ecology, and cultural heritage. Then conservation efforts, protection of unique geological and ecological sites. And 4, international recognition, potential for UNESCO Global Geopark designation, enhancing global visibility. Recommendation: develop comprehensive policies, frameworks to guide geopark initiatives and ensure sustainability. 2, engage stakeholders, involve local communities, academia, institutions, and private sectors in geopark projects. Conclusion. In conclusion, I look forward to echoing the powerful words of Malcolm Wilkinson, Geopark Operations Manager at Arran, Scotland, UNESCO Global Geopark, who recently stated, and I quote, "Now, as part of UNESCO's global network, we gain not just recognition, but shared knowledge and united strength. Together, we can turn local resilience into global impact." May these words remind us that through collaboration, knowledge exchange, and shared purpose, our local geoscientific initiatives can contribute meaningfully to global sustainability and heritage conservation. Thank you.
Or can we give, can we give a briefing session before we go to site on the geology of the Zuma Rock and the evolution, so that if they can give us a marker here, maybe we can have a brief lecture with an illustration, something that we cannot be able to do perhaps on site. Can we have a marker? Let's use this board. Actually, I didn't prepare for this, but I just thought that maybe rather than going to the foot of the rock itself and then beginning to do some explanations, we'll have basically just walked towards a piece of rock that holds significant record of Earth's history And if you look at today's International Geodiversity Day 2025 theme globally, it's talking about one Earth, many stories. So for us in Nigeria, for us in Niger State, we are part of this one Earth, but our locality holds a different story of how the evolution of this Earth actually impacted on us and the geological record that is being present in our locality. So, from a historical perspective, geotectonically speaking, the Zuma Rock is part of the basement complex of Nigeria. Within the geology of Nigeria, we have the basement rocks, which are the hard rocks, and then we also have the sedimentary rocks. So, initially, the oldest rocks in Nigeria, as dated, are what we call the Nigmatite gneiss basement complex, right? So I will start with them, even though stratigraphically, you are supposed to start from the bottom, then I will start writing. So the oldest rocks are what? The Nigmatite gneiss complex. It's because they are called Nigmatite gneiss complex because these two very old metamorphic rocks do grade into each other. But in reality, the oldest rock, is the Nigmatite, because by the time you subject pre-existing rocks to greater temperature and pressure regime, they will tend to get molten. And if you start with the basic sedimentary rock, maybe beginning from, say, beginning from slate, and then you now subject that to increased temperature and pressure, you will be grading into schist, then into gneiss, then into pegmatites. So these pegmatite gneisses are the oldest rocks ever found anywhere in Nigeria, and we have some remnants of them. And I think for us, as promoters of Geopark, these remnants of pegmatite gneiss, Pan-African orogeny. So it's called Pan-African orogeny. So actually orogeny, the term orogeny means mountain building processes, and it's called Pan-African because this is a specific episode in the Earth's history where we have several mountains being formed, in Africa. So these Pan-African orogenic processes led to the development of what we refer to as the basement, north central basement complex of Nigeria. So the rocks that intruded into the pegmatite gneisses in Nigeria came about the development of certain granitic rocks. And a typical example of them is the Zuma Rock that we are just about to see. So Zuma Rock on its own represents a much younger phase of this Pan-African orogenic regime that has impacted this part of the world. So, and these processes actually happened around 550 million years. So let me just pause over and welcome the Director General of the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency, Professor Olusegun FNMGS, who also doubles as the Secretary of the UNESCO International Geoscience and Geoparks Program, Nigeria National Committee. He actually told me he has a lot this morning, but he really wanted to come here and show his face. So we welcome you very much for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you. So in reality, these Precambrian rocks, that is the oldest rocks, actually dated billions of years. But the Pan-African orogenic processes that led to the emplacement of the most old granitic rocks in Nigeria happened around 500 to 550 million years ago, right? So these rocks have withstand a lot of geological events. Many of the non-resistant rocks have already given way to weathering, erosion, soil forming processes, and the rest of them. But today we have the Zuma Rock standing out because it is a very resistant rock that has withstand a lot of the other geological processes that have destroyed a lot of those rocks. So apart from discussing the tectonic evolution of the Zuma Rock, I also want to talk about the structural setting and the landscapes around this area. So the Zuma Rock on its own is not a rock that formed in isolation. It's actually a rock that represents a lot of structural strength around the north central basement complex of Nigeria. And this area is what we call the Niger Valley. So within this Niger Valley, you have these isolated intrusions of these igneous rocks surrounded by largely plain valley areas, around them. And we are lucky within Niger State itself. Also, we have the Bida Basin. So this is, so to say, a very interesting state that consists both the hard rock sites and also the sedimentary areas. So, structurally speaking, there are lots of structural patterns that have dissected, a lot of structural lineaments have dissected these rocks within this valley to give them this present outlook that they have. And if you look at the Zuma Rock itself, that's why you see it having this kind of shape. So a rock like this means that this is called an incel bed, all right? Because of its, nature and the, so to say, the way the magma during emplacement form this kind of rocks. And at the same time, when you have the magma chamber that deposited this rock forming landscapes. So if you like, those wives, madam, those wives, they're not really wives. They're not really wives. They're just rocks. They're just rocks. And this is the typical nature of granitic emplacement, isn't it? But incel beds are quite a rare occurrence anywhere in the world. And for us, Zuma Rock is exceptional because the height of it above sea level is around 700 to 800 meters. And this is by far the tallest, the tallest inselberg anywhere in West Africa. So in packaging our UNESCO Global Geopark application, what they want to know is, what do you have that warrants a UNESCO global designation? Is it just a normal geological occurrence that you have? There are rocks everywhere in the world. There are geological processes everywhere in the world. But the UNESCO Global Geopark concept is to designate and conserve and preserve those exceptional sites that have geology of international significance, something that even around the world, such occurrences are quite rare. So part of what we will sell is that this is about the tallest monolith, not in Nigeria, but within the West African sub-region. In some literature, they even say about the tallest in Africa. Some, if you read, they say second tallest, whatever. Okay? So whether this is the tallest, second tallest, or even third tallest, this is something that is exceptional. Okay? And it goes a long way in telling the story of its formation and of its resistance to weathering and other geological events that must have destroyed other rocks. And we say this is an igneous rock, so it means the formation of the rock actually took place within the subsurface. So what you should hypothetically think is that this place was formerly covered by some other overlaying sediments, but after erosional activity that happened several millions of years ago, have removed this top sediment cover. That is why we are seeing these rocks being exposed today. It's not as if they are volcanic rocks that even presently we can see them erupting. So that is an exceptional thing that we are going to showcase, meaning the monolithic uniqueness, of the Zuma Rock. Talking about the hives and the rest of them. So what we arrange is that Professor Goki is going to talk more about the petrology, the mineralogy of the rock, and the rest of it. And structurally, you see, intervals like this have very steep sides, and their heights are more taller than their widths, and the rest of them. And if you look at this particular Zuma Rock too, it also tells a story of how weathering and other geological processes have impacted really heavily on this rock, trying to destroy it over time. But the mineralogical composition of this rock and maybe the meat around it stops erosion from actually destroying the rock. But if you look at it, by the time we approach it, you see that the rock has a lot of some dissecting features, and the so-called man-made face that is very visible, around this rock. It's not an artificial thing, because I can't get my head around thinking somebody went up there to sculpture this. You understand? If you ever want to sculpture a face, you will not want to invert the face. But if you look at it now, the face is inverted. The eyes are supposed to be on top. But in the case of Zuma Rock, the eyes are what? Are below, and then you have the nose and the mouth. So at best, it is the circular nature of weathering, around this place that has been playing its role and impacting this role. So we have no doubt as a committee that this rock is going to sell by the time we are packaging the application. All right? Okay. So, but the concept of a geopark globally is not only for us to come and say we have an isolated geosite, because this is at best can be described as just one geosite. So, with the support of the Niger State government and with the support of federal government, we are going to look at all these adjoining rocks around this area, and probably the way I'm getting my head around is, in trying to form the borders around this future geopark that is existing in our minds, if we reconstruct the geochronology of the age of the rocks around this area, probably we may need to bring in a rock. If we look at if they have the same age, if they are of the same tectonic origin. The distance between Zuma Rock and Aso Rock is like how many meters? And we are talking about large-scale tectonics. When these things were there, there was nothing like Abuja, borders with Niger, all these differences. So geology does not respect boundary, which the Zuma Rock story is not going to isolate by the time we are narrating it. So we are going to look at that as well. And so of course the aesthetics, intangible values, and then all the things. There's something I wanted to say when I paused. I hope I will remember it. Okay, I think I forgot it. But it's very interesting. I wanted to mention it. So this is in essence the geological evolution, structural setting, weathering and denudational processes around this rock, and of course the geoheritage factors that the rock has that encompasses the cultural attachment to the people, by the people with the rock, the historical perspective, the aesthetic value. And for us as students of geology, this is an interesting field site to study igneous rocks formation, weathering processes. The permanent secretary is a geographer. He knows what I'm talking about. Before PAMSEC, actually geologists have been working like bushmen. We have nothing to do with the people. It's geography that is studying the earth, in relationship with man and physical environment. But for us in geology, it's about the rocks only and what the rocks can produce as raw materials for industries, for construction, mining, oil and gas. But the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals actually prompted geologists to look inwards and key in to the SDGs. That's why you see in your booklet here, we've tried to capture the essence, the relationship between Sustainable Development Goals and geodiversity and geoscience, so that we will become more responsible in whatever we do, responsible to the environment, responsible for ourselves, and also become part of the moving trend in climate change narratives and the rest of that. So, do you have any question for me now? Yes.
I'm not the geologist. That is my concern. Yes, my concern is when you are talking about the preservation of rock, and at the same time, we are talking about mineral part of it. So, and I think Prof will do more justice to that when it comes as a mineralogy. But as a novice, I want to know when you are talking of preservation, and at the same time, you are talking of the minerals in the rock. And you are saying that you should not blast the rock. How do you now get, my question is, how do you now get the minerals from the rock that you want to preserve as a geologist, and you don't want to blast the rock? And lastly, in your statement, you said that preservation for the man, when you are talking about geographer and a geologist, you are talking of the geologist now going to the direction of the geographer. That is the use those resources for man, for relationship of man. So how do you now, a juxtaposition of this preservation and the minerals, how do you now be useful for mining? another man.
So Director, let me just shock you. In fact, if tomorrow you come and say that there are gold deposits in Zuma Rock, you will have to kill all the people in Niger State before you can get this gold. Because they won't allow you to blast this one. You understand what I mean? So that is why this year, locally in Nigeria, we coined our own local theme to be Rocks of Identity. International Geodiversity Day 2025 at Zuma Rock. There are rocks and there are rocks that have identity. Am I speaking your mind? So every citizen of Niger State, every is it the Gwari people? Yes? They are attached culturally, spiritually to this rock. So whether you want to do mining, this is not the only rock you can mine. You understand? So our work in our committee is to balance mining and sustainable development in what we call sustainable mineral resource development. So how can mining coexist together with geoheritage conservation? During mining, what are the areas that you should not touch, even if they come along your way? You understand what I mean? So that's why we are working with the National Assembly to propose the bill that henceforth the MCO that issues mining licenses, okay? The MCO that issues mining licenses and the construction companies must do what we call geoheritage impact assessments. Just the way you do environmental impact assessment. Geoheritage impact assessment report will now determine that in your future project or whatever it is that you want to do, how are you going to approach conserving geoheritage assets around that area so you don't destroy them. If you remove this rock, you have removed the entire history of people here. You understand? So these are rocks of identity. You can't, even a rock of yesterday, because we decided as a government we want to move our seat of power from Lagos to Abuja. The situation of the villa itself, around or beside the Zuma Rock, I mean the Aso Rock, that rock has now become a national monument, isn't it? So you and I and everyone should fight anybody trying to destroy that rock, because that rock now is now our national identity. So not to talk of also the cultural attachments that the original inhabitants of this land too may have with Aso Rock. Same thing with Olusegun Rock. Dr. Martin knows. Olusegun Rock too. If you say now you want to go and destroy that rock, you have to kill all the Yoruba people in that place because they won't allow it. So that's what I mean. So you can approach mining at the same time conserve geoheritage assets. Any questions?
You must be there. Yeah. Thank you. I want to also add that when we talk about Tupac, it doesn't mean that there are some activities like mining, like farming, will not take place. Because like the land extent now, or the extent of Geopark, the list we say is 100 square kilometers. The list, that is 10 square meter by 10 square meters. And some even up to 200 square kilometers. So it doesn't mean that human activities will not continue to impact. But there will be isolated geosites that should be kept separate, just like we have the Zuma Rock now. So it doesn't mean that there will be mining, probably want to stretch even into Kashi, for example, as one geopark. It doesn't mean there won't be mining, but this mining activity must be legal not illegal mining. Then we are still working within the geopark. So that's what I want to add.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very interesting discussion that, it's a very challenging situation, Mr. Chairman. When you are talking about if the whole of this will be gold, believe me, there will be a lot of, struggle if it is gold. So for you to prevent people from going there. So let's be frank about this thing. This is the reality and this is the challenge. For those of us that know this place very well, sincerely speaking, what you are doing now, you will have great if you have seen what possible. When this man started building this place, I said I was here. I approved this plan. The beauty of Zuma Rock is more behind than in the front. Not because of the rock, but because of the deep forest and water body that is over there. Where are they now? What happened? And this issue of rock quarry and so on and so forth, it was done, approval. All of them, they have this, and we've been fighting this for a very long time. In fact, if you want to appreciate that, maybe you do this serious analysis, structural analysis of the rock, just go back to 2002. You see, there won't be anything like quarry, but move, you see what has happened. And the irony of the whole thing is, the man directly behind the rock, assume, just like you say you saw the rock in your school, it was a flat rock, so that it was mining directly behind. So you will never see any rock that is very big, but he has been mining there and going deep down. And he claimed that he wasn't touching the rock, but something. But by just the way you mentioned, there is a very good connection between these two things. This is very important. And this is the challenge, how to balance this consumerism, or the need, or the urge to get money, or to get income, and the process of this licensing. And most of this, unfortunately, is not even done by nationals, but by foreigners. But for not even by foreigners. Unfortunately, again, the same people that you would protect, they are already being brainwashed. So, I don't know whether we have anybody from the community here. You are telling me the kind of challenge we're facing. But this is very, don't guide me. But I agree with you completely. This is something that, this awareness is the most important thing. And just to also add to what you have said, Zuma Rock, Katambe, these are all within the same as is geological. Then lastly, what we are doing, Mr. Chairman, and my dear is that, you see, sometimes we assume we have moved progress, but believe me, we have moved backward. Let me give you the reason. As far back as 1947, the whole of Zuma Rock area was classified as Zuma Rock Forest Reserve. We have Abdul Forest Reserve. These were designated to be protected, not to be allowed for anything. But now, now, what are we doing? If at that time, I'm talking about how many years? We're talking about almost 70, 80 years. And if you go to you see the map, I don't know whether you see the map, when you go to the you see the map forest area. So this is something that we need to take note of. And Mr. Chairman, this suggestion, I agree with you completely. We don't even need to have a kind of this EIA that I mentioned. It doesn't have to be another form. If we are talking about EIS and EIA, we all know every aspect of economic, human activity needs to be analyzed. Cultural, economic, environmental, everything. So if we are doing it thoroughly, we don't need to be afraid. What value do we, maybe you want to do mining, we now put all the matrices together. History, culture, religion, spiritual, and then economic value. What they are, I'm sorry, with due respect, I don't have any bias against anybody, because I want to say something here. What you cannot do in China, they will hang you and shoot you. They do it here. They do it here. They came here, they cut the trees. Look, in China, you can't cut any tree anyhow. But here, they run the whole thing. So, I think these are the kind of awareness that we need to look at, and then we work towards that so that we have solutions to all this. It is something internet. Like I said, this is my background. And I'm very happy about doing this. I'm here to support this and to also convey the direct interest of the state government. If I should tell you what happened, maybe it's very important maybe to mention this. Like I was telling my sister here, I've been here to come and witness, not to represent the government, because I don't know big that as God, because the government is very, very listen. However, he said I should be here. When he became governor, we had been battling with this people in mind. In fact, after sworn in just less than a week, he summoned them to Asoko. He said we should go and arrest him. In fact, threatening one of them, he called the ambassador of that country that this man I will arrest and deport him back. Whoever gave license must remove that license. This area cannot be doing this. And that is the kind of political decision that we need. So and that's why we need to appreciate what he has done. And that is why he's giving this support. Because it's like you are just like enforcing what we really have in mind, which is something that we're all working towards what we call sustainability in actual sense. This issue of environmental sustainability is nothing more than what? It's generational justice. So as what we protect and prevent future generations from the injustice that is being done today. Thank you very much.
I'm the Director of Town Planning, Minister of Land and Housing, just to support my Permanent Secretary, as also as an urban planner by profession. Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Act number 88 of 1992 is very clear in terms of laws governing protection of our cultural heritage in Nigeria. So I take this important occasion as an avenue where we can strengthen our collaboration with various stakeholders and trying to see we have much control of this our cultural heritage. Already the law is there for us to enforce and control most of these activities. In fact, Zuma Rock, like my counsel has said, we have been battling on it. I know there are failure in some areas of enforcement in terms of protection of this kind of cultural heritage. But believe me, we have the enabling laws to guide us and control most of these activities. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, launch is ready, and after him, we are going to.
I want to. I am M.I. Ganu, the immediate past DG Explosive Federal Minister of Renaissance. Sorry, I am in the picture of what the council has said. In fact, that's the interview. I can vividly remember, I was the one that supervised one of the last blasting behind Zuma Rock. What happened was that what you said about the governor is true, and that was the stand he has taken. I am in the picture. So there was a time when they agreed explosives were already inside the walls, and they were stopped not to blast. I was so furious because I am in charge of explosives. I said, I now told the Chinese man, I said, if it is in your country, can this thing happen? Why can't you explain to them that you have explosive inside this rock? That you want to, it's better for you to destroy it. Now that you have made this explosive, what if something happened around that area? Because there are so many Fulani nomads that are grazing around that area. So that was how I took a unilateral decision without consulting anybody. We have to neutralize this explosive inside that rock. That was what happened. So we succeeded in destroying the explosives. And by mining law, we don't need to even argue much. By mining law, by the time when these parts of the tool now materialize, definitely they have to back out. It's there by the mining rules and regulations. That one, there is no even any business. By the time once this thing is that permit will be withdrawn, the license will be withdrawn, because we have a special case, a special section inside our laws, Nigerian mining laws, explosive laws, and the other 3 laws is there. It's written there that once if an area has to do with this kind of either your heritage, or it is a traditional land, or this or that. That was the reason why the national park, they were now arguing with a lot of illegal miners. All of them have been stopped, and this one will definitely be stopped. That one, there is no doubt about it. But the governor have made a very good case on this issue, and I'm aware of it. But unfortunately, I'm not on seat now. I've retired. So, but definitely I know by our laws, when this thing now become operational, definitely it has to go. They have to be stopped. That is it. But the last thing that we did is for us to save our people, because an explosive will be in a hole. You think that it is not active. By the time when it erupts, anybody that around that area will be killed. That is a very hazardous something. So we have to take action and make sure that we do. In fact, if I supervised, personally, I was the one that came and supervised. We have to drill additional holes around. We have to drill additional holes around, and then we charge the additional holes. That was how we connected everything, and we blasted. Thank you very much.
I know the protocol is laid already, but I still need to recognize some very proud people here. The governor rep, who is here in his person, and also the person of the governor, our able governor of Niger State. Most welcome. Please, I don't cram names. When I was in secondary school, I used to cram very well. And when I was in university, I know the matric number of all my students. But now, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm now looking for money. So please, don't remember names. And I don't want to bother names. But I recognize everybody that is here, my fathers who are elders before us, and in the profession, and my director, my chairman. Yes, and my director from my agency, my friend and brother, who we have been coming for good time, and the vice president of NGS, especially recognized her, and my big brother. I've seen quite of my students here who were personally taught as a student when they were in school. This man is one of them, who was my student. And I think I've seen 2 other, okay, Dr. That was my student. And this very brilliant guy too was my student. So I think sometimes when we enter places like this and we see people who have impacted, we are happy. You know, that's our own joy. Yes, I want to sincerely just say something because I'm here and I may not stay long, so that's why I want to say something. I really want to appreciate that we are also marking the Geodiversity Day, in Nigeria, which is the first of its kind, and I'm particularly happy that it's happening with us in our set as ESCO, and of course with the support of our able governor, and that we're also using this place as a showcase for these activities. Obviously, Nigeria is so blessed with what we can showcase as a way of geodiversity or geoheritage, as the case may be. I know all of this will have been said before my arrival, but just to say that there is no state in Nigeria that does not have one geological thing or the other to showcase. So I think it is more of that every state now should begin to look at what it can now contribute into the national pulse in terms of their geo-heritage entities. You know? And of course, my director will have spoken about it. from our end at NGSC, we are not just interested in looking at minerals, but we have gone also as part of our mandate to make sure that we have maps that represent all these geocenters or geological centers in Nigeria. In fact, in our budget this year, we have one. And our prayer is that money will be released to us, without this one cannot do anything. So that the budget will be passed and that we'll be able to engage our people, like my good friend there, as a resource person or consultant, so that it will help us. And of course, that will help us to do what will help us to do what is just to the nation. And I think where is the first one that we are doing, but I believe the second one, the second year when we are doing it, is going to be a second edition of our Nigeria edition of Geodiversity Day. We should come here with different rock types that will do a kind of display, because we are talking about geodiversity. We are not mining, but without that or those geodiversification, there cannot be mining. As I'm talking about, that go into the argument of what we are talking about, whether there is mineral and somebody we have to preserve it as well. We know the law has its own rule to that, because everywhere there is mineral, it is in the list of the federal government, and of course it means that it knows what to do with it. I think if you take forward my chairman, I'm talking maybe as DG, as your secretary. You see, this is the man that is above and is also below. So I'm talking as DG and also your secretary, that I'll try as much as possible that when we shall be this one, with the support of my director, I don't know where he will be. By that time, I know it should be better by far. Try to organize that we have our rock samples that represent, all these different areas of our country, and try to also have the map that shows these geodiversifications, where we that people can see what we do. Thank you very much.
Cutting across tourism professionals, land professionals, and almost everyone interested in knowing the value of geodiversity. So like I said in my brief description in the hall, where we are presently standing is an area that is telling a lot of stories. And Zuma Rock exemplifies a typical rock that embodies the story of resistance to weathering and further erosional activities that must have eroded many other rocks around this area but left this one standing.